Okay, we're on to our first exercise for pull day. This is the machine pull down, and it works the back, the biceps, and the rear delts all in tandem. It works them all together. Any kind of pulling motion, anything that brings the hands from in front of you to your armpits, any direction, any infinite number of angles, works those three major muscle groups. Now the muscles we're primarily trying to target are the latissimus dorsi, the muscles on the sides of the back. They're the ones that provide that V structure. So regardless of whether or not your waist gets any smaller in the course of your workout program, larger lats or wider shoulders give you that optical illusion or optical delusion, if you will, of a smaller waist. Also, the latissimus dorsi are large muscle groups. It's the biggest muscle of the upper body, and they burn a lot of body fat. So if you increase your metabolism by increasing a little bit muscle on your lats, you're going to lose more fat when you're not working out, and that's another key to exercise, is raising the metabolism through increasing muscle mass. Now, pull down exercise, there's three major components. One is seat position, one is hand position, and one is arm position. Now, initially, to position the seat, you basically want to adjust the seat so that when you're fully extended, when your arms are fully extended in this motion, you're not touching the weights to the bumper pads. And I have fairly long arms. A lot of pull downs, when you reach up to the handles, you'll find that you'll bottom out. If there's not enough distance between the seat and the handles, you'll go up to the stretch position, you'll hit the weight. Now this one, you have to stand up. There's a lot of little weights all over this thing. You can see 25, 10s, 5s, 45s, 35s. There's a lot of different pins sticking out of it. And basically, the purpose of those pins are just for racking the weight. They all, if you come up to a machine that looks like it has a bunch of little crop circles all over the place, you basically want to look for the one that moves when you pull a handle, or one that's maybe color-coded, has a different color on it, or something that looks a little bit different than the other ones, because it can be overwhelming to look at these things and there's just plates all over the place. They also have machines that are selectorized. You can put a pin in a weight stack, you can do cable pull downs, you can do things like that as well. But this is an isolateral machine. The nice thing about it is that the handles move independently. They also swivel, so it's great for people with shoulder problems. But because they move isolaterally, the weaker side will be working a little bit harder to do the same amount of weight as the stronger side. So it's going to get up to snuff a little bit faster. Now when you're doing a lat pull down, you want to grab both handles, place the weight on the appropriate pins, grab the handles, and then sit down. These rollers on top of my thighs do provide a little bit of resistance. If I'm using a weight higher than my body weight, I'm going to need to lock my legs here in place pretty tightly so I don't come out of place. Now, seat position, you just want to set yourself so that when you're fully extended, the weights do not touch. You can totally subluxate the shoulders. You want to lift the shoulders out of joint a little bit, the top of the range of motion, and you want to make sure the weights are not hitting the bumper pads. So when you subluxate the shoulder, if it hurts, don't do it. If it doesn't, do. But when you're pulling this down, you want to bring it right to the armpits, no further than this. Anything further than bringing my thumbs to my mid-axillary line or my armpit changes it into a tricep press. And if you're using enough weight, you probably won't be able to do this, but basically you want to bring it right to the shoulder joint, and that's it, okay? Slowly up, down to the armpits, slowly back up. So that's the motion. That's seat position, that's range of motion when you're doing this. The next is arm position. Now, if your hands are wide out to the side, that's a very popular way of doing these, doing a lat pull down to the front, or worse yet, doing it behind the neck, which puts an extreme stretch on the internal rotator cuff. Just like the behind the neck press with the bar, pulling it behind the neck puts a lot of stretch in the same muscle group, and your body's really not designed to do that unless you're really hyper flexible, hyper mobile in the shoulder joint. But it's really best to do pull downs to the front of the body. So why wouldn't you go a wide grip versus close grip? A wide grip, if you look at my arm angle from my shoulder to my elbow, because that's the bone that basically I'm pulling on with my lat muscle, if it's at this angle, I'm in a wide grip like this and pulling to the front, my arm's at this angle out to the side. As I pull down, the farthest I can bring it down is about here. So my angle goes from here to there. It's about a 90-degree range of motion. You don't want to limit the shoulder muscle to pulling just through a 90-degree range of motion. You want to give it as much range of motion as possible. So instead of going wide grip, which only goes 90 degrees, if you brought your hands together and did a close grip, look where my arm is now. My arm's all the way up, it's vertical, and as I pull down, my arm's going actually past my body. Say if I pulled it down to my chest, it's more than a 180 degree range of motion. So it goes from a 90 degree to 180 degree. It's twice as much range of motion, and you're going to use a lot more muscle mass pulling through that range. So seat position's one, positioning yourself where you're not touching the weight, where you're fully extended. The second one is arm position. Arms are close together to provide the most range of motion. The third and probably most important component of a pull down is hand position. Now, I've mentioned this before a little bit, but basically we want to put your body in the strongest position to work the lats, to work the biggest muscle of the upper body. Now, a wide grip overhand position is probably one of the weakest positions. Now, a lot of people tend to do overhand because they think that takes the biceps out of the equation. I mean, you can't help but use the biceps when you're doing a pulling motion, but if your biceps are overhand, a lot of people think when you're doing this, your bicep, because it's not in the best position, you're using your back more to do the exercise. In fact, that's the complete opposite. If my bicep's not in a biomechanically favorable position, my bicep is going to fatigue more rapidly. So I might do 10 repetitions on this, and my biceps screaming, my biceps fatiguing, and I stop, and my bicep just had a great workout, but my back didn't. My back is big and large and powerful and strong and just wants to keep going, but it didn't because my arm got in the way. Basically, my forearm and my biceps are weaker links in the chain, and they're going to fatigue first. So how do you change that? You want to put your hand, your arm in the strongest position possible, so to let your back work as long as possible. Now, to do that, remember I mentioned the little muscle in the mirror? When you twist your hand, when you supinate your hand and go underhand, your biceps are in a stronger position and you can use your back a lot longer. So that's why you can do a lot more chin-ups than you can pull-ups. So if my hands are in a strong position, I'm in a chinning position, and you can do chin-ups for this as well. You can do chin-ups, you can do a lat bar pull-down with a cable machine, you can do a nice lateral machine like this, you can do machines where it's a fixed bar, both pulling down in front of you. There's a lot of different ways of doing a machine vertical pull-down, but anything that puts the hands in an underhand, close grip position is going to be your best bang for your buck as far as how little exercise you actually have to do. And in my case, even though I'm here all the time, I want to basically do as little as possible to get the most results. And an underhand, close grip pull down is really the best way to go. So I'm going to get in position here, hold on to the handles, go ahead and sit down, let your arms start in a fully stretched position. Now you can go underhand from the top, or maybe a parallel grip to get a little more stretch on the lats from the top, but I wouldn't supinate, I wouldn't pronate. Don't put the hands pronated at the top. Keep them at least parallel or underhand. I like a parallel grip at the top just to get more stretch. Let the shoulders stretch up or subluxate, come out of the joint just a little bit. Slowly pull down, trying to pinch the shoulder blades. Now, and by the time you're down to the bottom position on this, you should be in a supinated grip. You should be underhand to put your biceps in the strongest position possible. Slowly bring it up. You can gradually untwist. Slowly back down, all the way down, and pause. Now, one last thing on pull downs is breathing. Now, normally I say to exhale while you're pushing up, right? So right now I should breathe out, right? Incorrect. You want to always focus on what the weight is doing. So right now, the weight is rising as I pull down. That's when I should exhale. It's whenever you're displacing weight against gravity. So when the weight's going opposite gravity, you breathe out. When the weight's going back down, you breathe normally, usually inhaling or do a couple of breaths depending on how slowly you go. So exhale on the way down, all the way down, slowly pause, all the way up, breathing normally at the top. And then you may want to let down one at a time or actually get out of the seat to lower the resistance. That's it for machine pull down. We're on to the next exercise for your back routine, and that is a single joint direct rotary motion for the latissimus dorsi, one of the best ones ever invented, and that's the pullover machine.